So guys, I will be talking about the DLAB test today. I just got taken the test actually, and I scored a 119. And to be very honest, I did not think I passed the test when I took it. However, I somehow passed with a 119. I'm very excited, even though my face might not show it. I'm very excited to start this career as a CTI. But what I'd like to talk about in this video is my experience taking the test, and just give you guys some tips and some things I would have done differently if I were to take the test again. First of all, I studied using the book. The author was Robert J. Cunnings, and I used that book to study for this test, and it definitely helped me familiarize myself with the test. Yeah, I mean, the book definitely helps you prepare for this test, but what it doesn't make you realize is how much tougher the test is. What it doesn't disclose is how much tougher the test is. So yeah, just know that right off the bat, the test will be a lot harder than the study guide. So what makes the test a lot harder than the study guide? I'll go into that. The very first section of this test, the audio section, it starts off with the syllable, the stress syllable, where you have to identify where the stress is and which word is stressed differently than the rest. In this portion of the test, there were some questions that were very easy to identify where the stress was, and there were some which was a lot tougher. But all in all, this portion was fairly easy because the test was administered in a language called Esperanto, as you may know. So it actually was easier to tell where the stress was, in a sense, because some of the English words you may know, it's hard to figure out exactly where the stress is. So with it being in Esperanto, I believe it makes it a little easier to figure out where the stress is. So yeah, my only thing I can note for this part of the section is just pay very close attention to where the stress is, very close attention, and use your fingers as a way of keeping track of which word you think is correct or which word you think is wrong. Or if you like, you can just click on the answer right away, have that selected until you hear a different word that you might think is a better answer. So that's what I would suggest for this portion. Moving on to the next section, where it goes into, well, first, the whole test is audio. Well, almost the whole test is audio. First 80%. The only percent that's not in audio is the visual portion at the end. So yeah, the next portion was the adjective and noun. That portion was actually pretty tough because the rules for this section states the noun precedes the adjective, right? So the noun comes before the adjective, and the adjective comes after the noun. They also end in the same vowel sounds, and that's where I had a lot of trouble in this portion of the test, was differentiating the vowel sounds. So what I would watch out for in this section is exactly how the endings sound, because sometimes the endings sound very similar. There were a lot of times, the first few questions, 4 or 5 questions, where I thought I heard 2 of the same answer choices. It's because I wasn't paying close enough attention to these endings, because they're very, very, very tough to differentiate. It's very distinct vowel changes in the end. The noise, it's very distinct. You can barely make it out. So pay very close attention to this part of the test, specifically to the ending of the words. So yeah, moving on to the next section, which was the possessor and possession. And this part is actually very easy. It was for me, because as long as you can identify which word is the possessor and which word is the possession, it's very easy to listen for the I sound, which is at the end of the possessor, and the U or A sound that is the possession. So yeah, this part is fairly straightforward. Just know which word is the possessor, which word is the possession. Just know that, and you'll be okay. And the next portion, the audio test, is the subject and verb and object portion. And for this part of the test, my advice is just know your English grammar, know where the subject is, know where the verb is, know where the object is, and kind of just listen out for the subject and listen out for the verb. So conjugate or switch up these words in your head before you even click the audio, because once you click the audio, you can't stop it, and it plays through, and it plays once, and that's it, you're done. So before you play the audio, deconstruct the English sentence into Esperanto in your head, or not Esperanto, but add the adjective, or add the rules that they make for this test. So add the double A's for the subject, add the YA for the verb. Make sure the verb doesn't end in an S. Make sure the object ends in an A. Listen for all these. Deconstruct the word before you hit click audio. That would be my advice to you for this section. And the very last section for the audio part, the comprehensive part, where all the rules are in one. This is by far the toughest section. Right away, I'll tell you this, is you're not going to finish this in time if you take your sweet time in every question. Go through the questions as fast as you can, but efficiently. So to do that, make sure you practice enough. Practice all your other rules, and practice all the rules together as well, because that will be very important. For this section, what you need to know is all the different rules could be in one question. So there's nothing stopping from the subject, the verb, the possession, the possessor, the adjective, the noun, from being all in one sentence. And that's actually what threw me off a little bit too in some of the questions, is because every word was changed. There wasn't one single word that wasn't changed. Every word had to be changed around and mixed up, and it's not like the study guide where it follows the subject, verb, object structure. They have the object in the beginning, they have the verb in the beginning. Sometimes it switches around. So what I would say for this section is be fast, because you will run out of time, but make sure you translate the sentence, the English sentence, into the new English rules that the test provides you, the test tells you to do, such as adding the ya for the verb, and switching the adjective and the nouns. Do all that in your head prior to hitting click audio, and listen out for the incorrect answers and cross them off your head, or just listen, and if you think you heard the right answer, click on that answer, and then listen to the rest of the option. The reason I tell you to click on the answer if you hear the right one is because after hearing all four options, sometimes you forget which one is the right answer. You might have it in your head, but you'll forget. I had issues with figuring out which I thought was the right answer because I did not click on it right away. I used my fingers as a method of keeping track of the right answer, and that honestly confused me on certain questions. So that's all I would have to say about the audio portion of this test. Moving on to the visual section, this is also a lot harder than the study guides. Yes, the study guides prepares you for this because it tells you, kind of gives you an idea of what to look for, but this visual part of the test is so much harder than the study guide, for the simple fact that there are a lot got 6 pictures to look at, versus the 3 that they show you in the study guide. So for this portion of the test, you will also run out of time. You have, I believe, 25 minutes to answer 30 questions. So that's not a lot of time. You can barely spend even a minute. You have to be under a minute per question. So for this reason, make sure you move along as fast as you can. Try to find the differences. Really, I mean, I don't really have a lot of advice on this section because I didn't do that great myself. I try to look at common terms between the words and the picture. I tried to deconstruct the picture to the best of my ability, and really that's all I can tell you is just practice the study guides, and it'll prepare you better for this portion of the test. But what I like to say is you will run out of time in this section if you don't move along fast. Make sure you move along fast. Otherwise, that's all I have to say. Best of luck to anyone else taking this test. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Yeah, see you guys.